On Trades Talk today, we have Ashton Reichmann with Accelerate Physical Therapy and Performance, my personal trainer.
That's right.
It's been kicking my ass. Got this new program, Ass by Ashton.
Yep.
It's working
perfectly.
It's working well.
Yep.
Working well. It's
Great
been talked
results.
about in the BNI quite a bit.
Yeah, people love it.
Let's see. We've got how many? Well, I know I go between certain time, but we got Tyler. He's been on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you mention Dr. Dold? Is he going?
No, we did was F3 workout.
Oh, okay.
He invited me to F3 workout back when it snowed.
Oh, yeah.
A month or so ago, 6 weeks ago. So working out outside in the snow at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it still feels wonderful out there. I just hope that all that stays away, just so that we can get back into this roofing season. So, well, I'm glad you're on the podcast.
Yeah,
We've been talking about it for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to bring you on here because me being in the trades and others being in the trades, the work that we do is physically demanding. Whether you climb roofs, whether you're a plumber, HVAC, there's a lot of shit that we end up going through doing on a daily basis that's very detrimental to our bodies, especially our knees, shoulders, back, neck, pretty much every aspect of our body. And in the time that I've been with you, in 8 weeks, 10 weeks, somewhere right around in that time frame, I feel 10, maybe 12 years younger as far as my body and the way that I'm actually adapting day-to-day tasks. In climbing the roofs, I not only feel more confident, but I feel more stable. Just today. So there was 2 roofs that I ended up doing today, inspection and a repair on one. The repair had 2 different slopes that were steeper than most. And before, I would not really feel unbalanced, but just not as confident on, stabilizing myself on it, walking on it, just performing my normal tasks that's necessary to be agile. And in the short time that I've been with you, I was like, honestly, like, fuck yeah, like I feel different.
Yeah.
I feel more strong and more confident in being able to perform my job like I need to, even approaching 40. So
yeah,
I wanted to definitely bring you on for not only that aspect, but just to get you introduced into the trades and show that, you're not there just to be like, I'm going to make Mr. Olympian. No, I'm here to, give you performance for the people that are in the trades. And hopefully I can get more people in there and see the radical change that it's done for me. And of course, I'm starting to look better. That's always a plus.
Oh yeah, always a nice side effect. Yeah, I think that that experience you've had gets at what should be the emphasis of training in general, which is real life results, looking better, like, oh, I'm filling out my shirt sleeves or whatever, 6-pack abs, all good stuff. But if you just hyperfixate on the aesthetic goals, you run the risk of missing a lot of the other important benefits. And for me, maybe that's my personal stance on things. I'm aiming for those reports. Like, I want people to come and say, I feel better.
Right.
I'm able to get through my job tasks easier. If it's a client who's in their 60s or 70s, I'm able to run around with my grandkids longer, climb up the jungle gym with them, do these things with less pain, more mobility, more confidence.
I'm just able to life better.
Yeah, exactly. And enjoy things more. And like you said, as a side effect of aiming towards those goals along the way toward moving better and feeling better and helping your joints, you're going to end up looking better.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty hard not to. There are rare cases of people who train really, really hard, like professional powerlifters and strongmen, who they just need to get as strong as they can, or as as powerful as they can for their movements, and they're trying to put on a lot of weight. I'm talking about the super heavyweight types. So they walk around at 330 pounds. They don't necessarily look healthy. It's not a health pursuit for them at that point. It's a
Power.
yeah. It's a obsessive pursuit of a record or of a competitive advantage in some way. The unfortunate thing is those guys and the bodybuilders and the physique models sort of skew people's perception of what lifting weights is, what training is in general.
I wondered
And
if that,
and yeah, people don't want to. I don't want to look like that
Right.
powerlifter. And even for women, they don't want to look like the physique models. Even the female physique models. A lot of women don't want to be that lean, or they don't want to be as built as the female bodybuilders.
isn't there like that big misconception of like, I just want to tone up?
Right?
You're not going to tone up. There
Yep.
is no such thing as toning.
Yeah. The misconception is that lifting light weights, moving these 5-pound dumbbells a bunch of times is going to be what tones me.
I should put in the little sound clip of Ronnie Wiseman. Lightweight, baby.
Oh yeah, Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, Ronnie Coleman.
Lightweight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done anything, if someone's not training at all, they're not exercising, and then they buy some 5-pound dumbbells and start moving around with them a lot, doing a bunch of curls and lateral raises, your arms are going to look a little bit better because you haven't been doing anything. But it would benefit you more to move 10 or 15-pound dumbbells. So in terms of what your program, the structure of your program, whether your goal is to build a bunch of muscle, lose weight, tone up, improve your functional fitness for life, the sets and reps are pretty much the same. The meat and potatoes of your workout should always be 3 to 5 sets, 5 to 15 reps. You could argue a little bit less or a little bit more. And the weight should always be relatively heavy. What determines whether you're putting on muscle, losing weight, or toning up is diet for the most part. And there's individual considerations to make based on where
That's
you
like
are.
80% of it right there.
Yeah. If you can train obsessively, be at the gym 6 days a week, 2 days a week. But if your nutrition and your sleep, hydration, if those other things aren't where they need to be, at least within what's practical. Not everybody's going to get 8 hours of sleep every single night.
Yeah, that's...
Not everybody's going to drink a gallon of water every day. Not everybody's going to eat this very clean diet all the time. And those things aren't sustainable over the long term. They are for some people. If it's their job, if it's their passion, they just love that the self-denial or self-discipline to only eat
you can't have that
carbs,
cookie.
fat, and protein. Eating like a robot, basically, just to fuel their
Twinkie for
machine.
you.
But most people want to enjoy a slice of pizza,
and
then a burger and some fries and big beer. And you can do all that as long as things are done in moderation, and overall, you're not constantly
now in moderation
at a calorie surplus.
That
moderation.
That word is common in the nutritional aspect and in the fitness world.
Mm-hmm.
What would be considered moderate? Is that like a once a week kind of thing? It's cool, kind of like a cheat day, or moderate as one a day, not 2 a day, not lunch and dinner. In my eyes, the way I would look at it is for the pizza, burger, beer, something of that nature, one time a week to either kick the craving overall or, well, I don't really crave alcohol, but when it's like hot out, that ice cold beer just resonates.
Yep.
Ice cold Modelo.
Sitting on a patio.
Yeah. So.
Yep, I agree.
In my eyes, I'd say 7 to 10 days in between would be moderate.
Yeah. Depends on whether you're talking junk food or alcohol, maybe there's a difference there. I think you have to start with somebody where they are. So if they're drinking every day, I come home, pull the Bud Light out of the fridge or Yingling and have a drink. Well, only do that on Tuesday and Friday night.
So cut back on what you're...
Cut back. Start cutting back. And then pretty soon you'll realize I really don't need the Tuesday night beer. But then maybe by the end of the week, it's nice to have a beer, a glass of wine. And same thing with food. Okay, every night I have a big bowl of ice cream. Well, let's start by cutting that down to 3 nights a week. Can you do that? Can you start there? And then over time, it's a process of just making smaller and smaller changes. Once you realize, oh, I can do that. I can walk 20 minutes 3 days a week. Maybe I can do some push-ups and some sit-ups and some lunges at the end of that walk. And every 6 weeks, every few months, every once in a while, whatever that time frame might be, you add something to it. I'm really enjoying this walking and doing these calisthenics. Maybe I'll buy some dumbbells. Maybe I'll buy some resistance bands. Maybe I'll get a gym membership. Maybe I'll hire a personal trainer.
Right.
Now you have enough experience to start to be able to conceptualize what a good goal is, something that's aspirational but still attainable. Like, maybe I could lose that next 10 pounds, or maybe I could build X amount of muscle. I want to do a pull-up. I want to beat my high school bench max. Whatever the goal is, if it's meaningful to somebody and they're motivated to do it, as a trainer, or as a physical therapist and as a personal trainer, let's do it. I don't need to know, like, there's a tendency to kind of, that's a silly goal, or why do you need to hit that? It doesn't matter. If you want to hit that, if your goal is, it would be super satisfying. I would be thrilled to beat my old deadlift PR that I hurt my back on. Then there's a psychological component to that. You're overcoming something that injured you, something that hurt you at one point in time.
Probably been a reminder for a long time too.
And so you've walked around all these years, I can't deadlift, or I can't lift that heavy of something that often on the job site. I got a bad back, and my back it gives out once in a while. Well, it doesn't have to. You can strengthen it. You can rehab it. It's not a fast process necessarily, but if you have, I guess the prerequisite for any of the long-term benefits of exercise, even with a really good coach, you could have a world-class coach who knows all the research, has trained 1 million clients. They've all succeeded. But if you're the one client that comes to them that doesn't have the ability to delay gratification and to wait for the results and just to trust, everybody says trust the process. That's a slogan, I guess. But that's what it is. Yeah, you might not see anything happen for the first 4 weeks. Hopefully you'll feel better. You're getting some endorphin release with each workout. The flexibility and mobility work can yield some dividends fairly quickly within a couple weeks. But as far as extensive physique changes, like, 12-week shred, you could lose 12 pounds in 12 weeks if you're very disciplined, but that rate is not sustainable over the long haul. So that's where we come back to the standard advice of like 1 to 2 pounds a month is a pretty good.
Now, doesn't that
change
physiologically change your body? And that's where the substance, or, it actually will carry long term rather than just, hey, like fall off weight and you drop 50 pounds in 6 weeks. Well, you can gain it back like that just as quick because it was something that was so spontaneous to your body. But if it's over time, your body's going to start adapting more and your metabolism will raise from it.
Yeah, weight lost quickly is more likely to be regained quickly. And yeah, it's.
I mean, there's fasting though.
You're waiting on some hormonal changes to occur as you
not
lose
giving
weight,
your body time to adapt.
Yeah, but when they study the Biggest Losers, the contestants from that show, I don't remember the time frame, a year or 2 years. Most of them have gained a significant percentage of the weight back.
Mm.
Our bodies are hardwired to retain. Once you reach a weight, stay there, because in a natural setting, the paleo concept is that we didn't have all of these carbohydrates readily available in most climates. You certainly didn't have all these refined carbohydrates where you could eat 1,000 calories of sugar within 2 minutes and then carry on with your day. You had to go pick a bunch of fruit and climb a tree and battle the bees and the bears for some honey.
I mean, that's still going on.
So yeah, true.
That's still going on, just not here. Not in this
the
country.
Remote people groups are still doing that in the Amazon and stuff.
I watched one where it was like the bird. They had a relationship with the canary, and it was a symbiotic relationship. And the bird would tell them where that honey was at. They would climb up, and in exchange, they would get like a piece of the wax and, of course, the honeycomb itself. And they talked. The tribe,
like, whistle to the bird and stuff.
And they would tell them exactly where that honey was, because it was in a tree extremely high up.
Mm-hmm. Like up above the canopy.
But I watched this, and I don't think it was National Geographic. It's probably some shit online, but I watched like the whole thing. I was engaged the whole time, and I was like, they're talking to the bird, like they're having this conversation, and the bird's like, "It's right here, dude." Like,
animal husbandry stuff is crazy.
And
there's the Planet Earth episode,
it
or maybe
was
it's Life.
that. It was on Netflix. I think it was a Planet Earth one, because they were talking about like the symbiotic relationship between species to species.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we don't communicate just like we are, but they were like,
communication comes in a lot of forms.
Yeah.
You got the people on the East Asian steppe. I think they consider it, they're Mongols, is what they call themselves. Still the Mongol tribes. Nomadic steppe people, I guess, if we're being PC. They train eagles to hunt steppe wolves, which are a lot smaller than the western gray wolves that we have here, but still a big nuisance, a predator. So they'll go out and scope, and they've got these eagles trained from a young age to look for the movement, and I guess probably to differentiate between what's a wolf and what's something else. And in that episode, that wolf or that eagle locks in, flies down, is able to harass it at first, but eventually picks it up and then drops it.
So like picks up,
picks this wolf up, and just like, it's not like soaring up in the air with it, but swoops down, picks it up enough to be able to drop it from enough height to injure it.
I mean, different parts, there's different tactics, and I mean, it just anywhere, because we could look at just about any other culture and be like, oh, that's inhumane.
Yeah.
Or, oh, that's just like in China, there's parts, very, very small parts from what I understand, that still look at dogs as food.
Yeah.
But here, they're pets.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's their culture. We have ours. Yes, because I have a feeling like I don't like that. And yes, it's very sad and it sucks. But I don't live there. That's not my culture. It's not my business either.
Yeah.
Just like they're not meddling over in our business going, you should be eating horses, well, not riding them.
when protein is scarce.
Yeah. You never know. Well,
if famine strikes.
It'd be amazing to see. Well, not really, but.
There's that scene in The Patriot where the priest has joined their group, and they find who's the British general whose house they ran. They go to meet with him, and then Mel Gibson, as he's on his way out, he whistles at the greyhounds.
Oh, yeah.
They follow him. I think that's where they end up getting the greyhounds from. Or not greyhounds.
The Great Danes.
Great Danes, there we go. And then later on, he's like, what do we do with the dogs? And one of the guys says, eat them. And the priest is like, oh my. And he just looks at one of the guys who's supposed to be like this, redneck ruffian,
right.
Teeth are almost up. And he's like, dog makes a hell of a meal or something like that.
Nah.
And like, yeah, man, if you're starving and there's no other option, you know, if it's you or the dog, one of you has to die, and makes the decision a little bit easier. But yeah, I don't know how we got here from weight loss.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah.
This podcast will go all sorts of places.
Back to weight loss. Lose your weight sustainably or in a steady and sustainable manner. That's probably the best strategy long term. Is just to make small and sustainable changes.
Honey in a tree.
Honey in a tree. Yeah.
That's how we got there.
Oh yeah, too many carbohydrates in our environment. Not that carbs are bad either. It's just too much of any good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So we have access to a lot of very calorie dense foods. They're delicious. Food scientists are have full-time jobs to make food more delicious and more appealing, and they've done a really good job of that.
Oh yeah.
And so it's easy to overeat carbohydrates and you know, quote unhealthy fats that you're going to find in your chips and highly processed foods. So anyway,
hopefully the RFK change is coming quicker for all of that. I haven't really seen anything lately that shows what he's doing with
from a
FDA and how all of that. I mean, I've seen some of it, but it more pertains to like the formula for baby formula, vaccines, stuff like that, that nature. Yeah. Not quite remove GMOs. Like it's been banned in other countries. Mm-hmm. Just like with Coke or Pepsi or something like that. You go get one of those that is a Mexican Coke and it's cane sugar. Yeah. It's not fructose. So
yeah, I mean, you can look at the labels for, what was it, cereals, Fruit Loops, or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, something here in the U.S. versus what the European Union allows in their food products. And they don't allow all these additives and all these preservatives and all these artificial food dyes that, one, it helps with shelf stability. So, you know, try not to assign malevolent intent right away for everything. I try not to. You know, we needed shelf stability during the war, during World War II. Maybe that's where some of that started. And then it's just like, oh, well, as a food producer, it's nice that this food lasts so much longer.
Yeah.
So if there's variation in demand, we don't have to toss all this. But, okay, now we've got other options for food preservation other than some of these chemicals that other, you know, the EU or Mexico or Canada, you know, I don't know all their policies on all these preservatives and food dyes, but they don't allow them. So does that indicate that when we're the lone ones continuing to pump our food full of that, and everyone has there's a growing understanding that we're increasingly unhealthy despite all of our advances in healthcare. And we're not just unhealthy metabolically, but psychologically and spiritually and every way you can slice it. We're less healthy, you know, kind of each decade. So it might be hard to identify that it's that one preservative or it's that one food dye. But when you add all those things together cumulatively across the lifespan,
it starts adding up quick.
All the things in our environment, you know, some small fraction of a percent change for each of those things, and it manifests in a large way to affect how we feel. And, you know, men's testosterone levels have plummeted over the last few decades. What's at work there? That there's something,
a lot.
There's something environmentally.
I got theories.
yeah, and you can speculate, and maybe, I don't know if anyone's really been able to show empirically, but it makes sense that maybe having a device in our pocket all the time isn't necessarily a good thing. Chemicals in the water, you know, we've got prescription medications.
We about to get banned on YouTube.
I know. Yeah. Where do we stop? So exercise.
Exercise. What got you into? Where did you start? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure in middle school, high school, growing up, you weren't just like, I'm going to be a personal trainer. What got you on this path? Why are you passionate? Because I know you're very passionate about it, especially with helping people and poking people with needles.
Yep, I do like that.
Yeah, trust me, I did not like you that day for all of 15 minutes. I was like, we're not friends anymore. That sucked, dude. The last two, or whatever the hell you did, like, I still have a little PTSD about that.
It's a novel experience, a novel sensation. So, yeah, how did it start? I'm not totally sure where I originally came to understand as like a 6th or 7th grader that you can work out and get better at, that's a way to get better at sports.
Right.
And that's that type of thing. My dad bought a weight thing for the basement, like a squat rack, that you could bench, squat, do some lat pull downs on. I want to say, it seems like I used it more than anyone, and that was probably in 6th or 7th, 8th grade, somewhere in that range. And at the same time, he bought a book that was about kind of the basics of resistance training. So I'm thumbing through that. I'm like, oh, like there's a rhyme and a reason. Like there's a way to develop.
Oh shit! So you actually did?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah. So you were joking, but
I was
at that age, I was already like into it. Like, oh, this is cool stuff.
All right.
I'm nerding out on this.
Fair
stuff.
enough.
Probably 8th grade by the time I was looking at that, and then my brother happened to buy. I need to look back and see if they did a reprint of Arnold's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. Really thick book, 1,000 pages or more of Arnold Schwarzenegger's lifting advice combined with a bunch of photos of him and all of his buddies lifting.
Yeah.
Showing what so-and-so looked like. There was stuff about posing for bodybuilders. This is how you make this muscle look bigger on stage, that type of stuff. Nutrition, put 12 raw eggs and this oil and the stuff in your protein shakes. And this is how they were doing it at Muscle Beach back in the 60s and 70s.
Back in the day.
Yeah. Old school, tougher generation, I guess. But I was reading that, realizing like, oh, okay, if you do squats, it strengthens this. If you do deadlifts, it strengthens this. And I think that's probably where it started. And then I, realized, oh, this is making me a better football player. This is making me a better wrestler. I've got a competitive advantage. And that probably manifested in 7th grade that and probably coincided with hitting a growth spurt and stuff like that too. And then just kind of grew from there. I realized, okay, Sports Science was a show on ESPN, or maybe FX, whatever that was on.
I think that was FX.
Where they, have the lab and
I think that's FX.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, cool. There's a science behind this too. So all those factors just coincided. And then in high school, we had to be there for football weights, take a weights class. Then you learn at some point along the way, there's an upper limit to how much of this I can do before it starts to, something hurts or something gets hurt. Whether it's just sore or whether it's serious, that's the question everyone always has. And that's the reason people delay seeking treatment from a physical therapist or going to their doctor is.
Or working out in general.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Even when something happens, people, it just feels sore. I didn't think anything of it. Well, okay, now it's persisted for a while, and now it's causing issues. And that's a tricky thing to try to navigate on your own. To WebMD, you're going to get the worst case scenario. Like,
you have cancer. You're going to die.
Yeah.
It's just my fingers numb, dude.
Yeah. Well, you're paralyzed now. So I would advise people to get with to establish a relationship, establish care with a physical therapist, and go to that physical therapist when you have those issues. If your therapist is willing to do, free phone calls when you have, hey, I got a quick question, great. I don't think we should do that. And make ourselves available that often like that, because other professions don't. You can't just call your lawyer and be like, hey, I want free 15 minutes of advice on this legal issue. So, but have a therapist that you're willing to go see when something happens. And hey, can you check this out and tell me if this is something serious or if I just need to, kind of take it easy, rest a little bit compared to what I have been doing? What stretches and exercises should I do? Or should I not rest at all and just get back to activity as usual? If you like heat and ice, put some heat or some ice on it. Here's some stretches. You'll be fine in a week. At least you've done your due diligence there versus just ignoring something. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. Right. It's gonna get better.
But that comes with really weekly or active movement too. Like if you're, I would say I agree with you. Like you shouldn't be just readily available. And I know I don't even bug you on like, hey, this feels sore. I wait until like the day that I'm there. Yeah. By the way, this sucks.
I want a recap of last time. Yeah. How do you feel after the last session? But
I'm curious. This is the one thing that I wanted to talk to you about at the beginning of all of this. Of course, I was sore. Next day, a couple days after, but now I'm not sore even after lifting heavier and heavier and heavier. Is that just my body adapting to that and knowing that, all right, we got to push a little harder this time?
Yeah.
I'm actually a little concerned for that because I'm like, I should be sore, but I'm not. No, I'm not sore in the same way.
Yeah.
I still have some of it, like
it changes.
10% of what it would have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, your body adapts. So we have in the musculoskeletal world, whether that's physical therapy or personal training or strength coaches, the SAID principle, SAID, is specific adaptation to impose demand. So you will adapt specifically to the things you do or don't do. You will de-adapt. So if you ride a bike a lot, if you're a cyclist, you will be specifically adapted to cycling to the extent that you'll get some adaptive changes to that activity that may be maladaptive to other activities. For example, a competitive cyclist will end up with shortened hip flexors, adaptively shortened, that prevent them from fully standing up totally straight through the hips, at least, because those things have...
Because they're so used to being in that.
Yeah. You're clipped in, so you're pulling, you're using that hip flexor every time you go around. But they understand that that's part of the game. I'm a competitive cyclist. I want to win at cycling. Powerlifters will have adaptations. They get very stiff. You have to get very stiff, maximal stiffness to be able to lift maximal weight. So that's a trade-off that comes at the expense of being able to easily bend down and tie your shoes for a super heavyweight powerlifter, or be able to have the mobility to also do something else easily. You're going to stiffen up kind of in this range here. That's going to make playing pickleball hard, or that's going to make, swing dancing hard because you can't rotate. See it down, be like, yeah. So yeah, back to your question about adapting to the workouts. That's desirable. That's a good place to be. You don't need to be debilitated with soreness after every workout.
That's just curious.
And that's not a sustainable pattern. That's another misconception. So I guess, I like to address those misconceptions because that is a barrier to exercise for people. I dread going to work out because I don't like being sore. Some people enjoy the soreness. Maybe that's a masochistic trait that some people have. They're just like, when I make myself sore, I know I've done something. Yeah, there's some truth to that. It's fine, maybe once a week you kill it in a workout and you get sore from that. Or if you're like, I really want to grow my arms, then okay, you'll grow them faster if you're sore, probably. Or at least you've reached that upper limit of what those muscles can tolerate if you're sore from that session. But you don't need to go there every time. It's not sustainable because eventually you'll probably cause some joint irritation. You'll overextend that area a little bit. But you can train heavy without constantly having to push the envelope to the extent that you're sore. And so
Yeah,
I think that's good for people to know. Like, once you get through that first couple weeks, yeah, it's going to be hard to get a meaningful workout in and not be sore if you haven't worked out in 6 months, a year,
Decade.
6 years. Yeah. So, yeah, there's always going to be that entry level or that on ramp that causes a lot of soreness. I try to mitigate that, and I'm not trying to kill anybody with soreness or create more soreness than is necessary, but you could also slow play things too much and take your time too much where like we're not getting anywhere because I don't want you to be sore, I'm going to baby you. And there's a balance there. And some people just think it's part of it, so they don't even tell their trainer, like, yeah, I couldn't walk for 2 days after, or we did deadlifts and you said it's okay for me to feel it in my back, but I couldn't stand up straight for 2 days after that last deadlift workout that we had. That's not desirable. That's subtracting from your life, assuming that you have other things you want to do than just lift, like spend time with your family, hobbies, probably have a job that you need to be able to perform at in some capacity, even if that's just sitting at a desk. But if your back's wrecked, it's hard to sit at a desk for a long period of time. So training, personal training, just your fitness regimen should be additive to your life. I leave the gym feeling good, like you've talked about. I'm sharpened mentally.
Yep.
I feel better. You got that natural endorphin rush. I'm ready to take on the day. I can get a lot done in the next couple hours because you've just pumped a lot of oxygen into your brain, and so your brain is fully awake, fully alert. Everything's ready to rock.
I've gotten so much shit done on those days. Like, I'm like, it's only 9 o'clock. Like, I'm damn near done with my day.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
So
let's go do some more.
additive in that sense, but also additive physically. Like, I just feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been the biggest thing for me is just, I don't feel my age. I feel like I'm just hitting 30. And the way that I did back whenever I was still in my late 20s. So that in itself, to me, has been the most changing mentally, is because of waking up and not going, oh, today's going to suck because of, whatever the case may be. It's been life-changing.
That's awesome.
Literally.
I'm glad to hear that. Very happy to hear that.
Outside of like not being sore, I mean, the overall physical abilities of performing my job was probably, that's kind of the first concern that I brought to you, was like, I just want to be more flexible. I want to be able to enjoy all the time that I have with my son, and playing with him and because hell, I mean, he's 4 years old. Like, he's 10 times. I've got 10 times on him.
Mm-hmm.
He will kick my ass with the amount of energy he has.
He's only going to get stronger, faster, more energetic.
So I want to be able to stay even keel with him. And I know that requires me to do the necessary things to holistically get there instead of additives. Just the additives of the right way. Working out, personal training, fitness, of course with Accelerate.
Yeah.
So what is your ideal client besides me?
Yeah. You clone yourself for me.
I've heard that one before, but no, one of a kind.
Somebody who's motivated, honestly, and that sounds a little simplistic.
But what side?
Or too generic, I guess.
Performance side?
Oh.
Or physical therapy side? Because I see some of the clients that you have in the transition of between appointments and stuff. Is there one that you favor more as like being ideal, that you get the most enjoyment out of the session?
No. I see it as a continuum. So going back to the question a little bit ago, how did I get into it? I liked training. I found out I liked lifting weights. I was naturally good at it. You know, I'm stockily built. And so short levers are mechanically advantageous to lifting weights. So I found out I was good at it. I liked it. It helped me with football, helped me with wrestling. So I stuck with it. And then through high school and college, had little, overuse injuries or recurring issues, ankle sprains, tweaking my shoulders, that type of thing. So I started to suppose there must be a better way of training, and there's must be a better way to handle these issues.
Right.
And then, I think the Lord just brought me to this place where a family friend stopped in town while I was in college. He's like, "Hey, let's get lunch." And what are you studying? At the time, I think I had declared chemistry as my major, and I was in like Chem 2, looking around the class. And I'm like, I don't know if these are the people I want to work with. Good people, just not, I don't know if I can work in a chem lab after all.
Nerds.
Yeah. And not to mention, it required a lot of studying, and I wasn't really focused at that point in time. So, and then I was like, well, maybe I'll go physics. Liked physics.
Even bigger nerds.
And then, actually at the time when our family friend Matt stopped through Emporia, I was declared as a physics major. He was like, "Have you thought about physical therapy?" And I was like, "Oh, duh. No, I hadn't even, hadn't thought about it." He's just like,
that seems like
everything
a
you're
radical
explaining to
change
me,
too.
Everything you're explaining to me, he's like, "What do you want in a career?" I think was the question, or something along those lines. And I said, honestly, I just don't want to sit at a desk all day.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible. And so he explained his day. I'm working with people. I'm talking to people. I meet a bunch of
So he was
people.
a physical therapist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he loves what he did. He retired a few years ago. And I'm on my feet all the time. I'm moving throughout the day, basically working out with people who are hurt. So you're not training necessarily, but you're regressing those exercises to a level that the person who is in pain or is injured or is in a post-op status can tolerate. But there's a thread that's continuous through day one of physical therapy all the way back to the performance side. So if you've got an athlete who tears their ACL, there's day one of rehab. Let's get the brace off and look at the swelling and see if you can make that mind-muscle connection to make your quad squeeze, all the way back 9 to 12 months later, ideally, sometimes longer. But that's a whole nother conversation in terms of the timeline, when athletes should go back. But all the way through that, a PT should at least have the knowledge to make recommendations about what an athlete should be doing months 7, 8, or even earlier. Be ready to squat under a barbell at 3 to 4 months if you've had good therapy. And a good PT who has an interest in performance, I should say, because some PTs want to work in other settings,
right.
And so they don't care to get into human performance. But if you're going to work with athletes, you should be able to help them all the way through, and the principles apply. The same principles apply. The context changes a little bit from a immediate post-op ACL reconstruction to now I need to be able to sprint, jump, change direction at full speed. What does my knee need for that? A good PT should at least be able to advise that. And a good strength coach should be able to talk to that PT. They should share a common language where there's a smooth transition between the two. Or if you're an athlete who doesn't have a strength coach, hopefully you found a PT who can get you all the way there as well. So that's kind of why I started Accelerate. They call it bridging the gap.
Because you got both sides.
Yeah. So bridging the gap is the difference between where physical therapy has traditionally ended due to insurance restrictions typically, and where an athlete actually needs to be to decrease their risk of injury as much as they possibly can. So people fall in that gap, and maybe they don't ever get out of it. They don't ever return to sport, or they return to sport and they're not truly prepared, and that's why the ACL re-tear rate is so high. So that's just one example. You could get away. You could move to just a Gen Pop client, just a average Joe or average Jane who tweak their back over the weekend doing yard work or lifting their kid up or something, but they've done it multiple times over the years, and now it's a recurrent issue. They're ready to address it. Okay, first let's get it calmed down, get you back to where you can go about your normal daily activities without pain or with minimal pain. You're doing well. Now let's make things stronger so that doesn't happen again, which means lifting weights, squatting, deadlifting, jumping, sprinting. I mean, the more capacities you use in your exercise routine, the more capacities you'll have during your day.
Get off your ass and get an ass by Ashton.
There we go. Ass by Ashton. That's where it comes from. Squats, deadlifts, lunges, step ups. Yeah. All the glute work. So,
well, my pants are fitting better because of it. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
For now. Until we really start the glute work. But, so I see the physical therapy patient or client. When I'm working with them, I'm thinking, where are we going with this down the road? Not just like, I want to make you feel better today. That's an important part of it, to provide pain relief. But more importantly, what's our long-term strategy here? What are your long-term goals here? Some people just want to get back to normal daily activities. Okay, that's fine. If that's all your goals are, and you're sure, or are you just, are you
not
just setting your expectations low? Right. No, you're just sort of resolving yourself to like this. I think this is about as good as it can get. So, once I get back to where I can get out of bed without pain, I'm fine. We'll stop there. And that's premature if you're talking actual resolution so that it doesn't happen again, or that you at least decrease your risk of it happening again as much as you possibly can. So the ideal client is somebody who's motivated, and not to throw shade at anybody, but it's somebody who maybe has had a bad experience with a previous physical therapist or a previous trainer, where either there wasn't a good rapport, because sometimes people just don't click, or they didn't see eye to eye, or couldn't come to an agreement on how they were going to move forward with things, or your personal trainer was too aggressive, not understanding of an injury you'd had, and pushed things too much and you got hurt again. Like, there's a lot of stories of people getting burned. And again, that creates hesitation to start back up.
Right.
In the physical therapy world, that creates hesitation to go to physical therapy again. Oh, I was in so much pain. They pushed me and they didn't help me at all. And they were trying to work on other things that weren't what was bothering me, what I was there for. So, and it's just, maybe it's human nature, a negativity bias thing. I mean, our negativity bias is so strong. So people have one bad experience with a physical therapist. Maybe that physical therapist was having a bad day.
Right.
And
it's just like in roofing.
Yeah.
They all think that they're, just storm chasers.
Yeah.
No, we're a local company. We're here.
Yeah,
I never knocked on your door.
I don't want to talk to any roofers because I talked to one and they robbed me. And same thing happens, with PT. And so I talk to people like, I tried PT for my back pain. Well,
That's the point of this podcast.
What was the PT that you did? What did it look like? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Did you see the same person every time? Was the message consistent from session to session?
Well, it's like with
chiropractors, things
progressive. The joint. Like that, I think it's just a turn mill. Just get you in, pop your back, get you out.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the PT, I'm pretty sure, is like that.
Yeah, we have similar. Or we have patient mills, and unfortunately, there are a lot of good therapists who have nothing but the best intentions to help their patients that are stuck in that model. And so I got out of that model. Yeah, I was.
You're awesome though.
Yeah, I was in that model for a while.
I know you.
And you do the best you can. There's a lot of reasons.
I'm sure you learned quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a great learning
within
experience. Yeah, I mean, if I've thought before, if I were going to hire an additional therapist, I'm talking to one guy that I may partner with in the near future. But like after that, hiring new staff in the future, I'm going to basically make it a rule. You have to have had 5 years of experience in the standard operating environment as a physical therapist to understand the difference, to appreciate the difference, because it's really nice. You know, I worked with a great company right before I started this, where we got to see our patients. I got to see my patient for every visit, so there was that continuity of care, and it was great because I can remember. Maybe I remember some small nuance to something, but it's hard to document all those little nuances. Yeah. Like, oh, when Devin was doing his squats, you know, he had a little bit of back pain, but then when he widened his stance a little bit and changed his shoulder position for that 5th rep, the pain went away. And so that's his new squat form. I'm not going to be able to type all that because in that type of clinic, I'm seeing 15 other people that day. I don't have the time to type that detailed notes 15 other times. So if you're going to see another therapist the next time you're here, they're not going to understand the nuances of that session, exactly what provided the relief, exactly what worked and what didn't. Whereas when I've seen as a therapist, when you get to see the same patient, or you get to see the patient at each visit, you can remember those small little nuances of, I remember your shoulder liked it when we did this. You got a lot of relief out of this one little thing. And so it just streamlines the whole process. You get more from each session as the patient. You get more relief or more improvement. And so you will either progress faster or you will get there with fewer total visits. And I think that's an important consideration a lot of people don't make. They're just thinking dollars spent. What about time spent? How much is your time worth? If you have to go to 12 or 15 or 18 visits to a different provider, how many hours total do you have to take off work? Like 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours each time that you do that?
Just so they can maximize their dollar rather than the actual performance of what they're doing.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, that happens for sure.
I'm sure. Well,
or do you want to?
I would think first.
Or probably. Are you willing to pay more per visit and have fewer visits, but get more out of each of those visits? So instead of taking off from work 2 to 3 hours 2 times a week for 8 weeks, you're taking off work 2 to 3 hours 1 time a week for 8 weeks, or for 6 weeks every other week. You know,
that's like a no-brainer though, because you're getting to your end goal as the patient quicker. And I think overall, a lot of people unfortunately do look at the dollar figure first, and they're just like, oh, shit.
There can be some sticker shock.
Yeah.
And I'm sensitive to that. So I think when I have a good rapport with somebody, they're a return client, they get it. Or if I have a rapport with somebody outside of the clinic or the gym setting, and I'm able to explain that, oh, okay, yeah, that does make total sense. But most people are guarded towards sales approaches. So if I'm selling them something that sounds, maybe they've had a lot of previous experience with PT and it's gone pretty well, and they're like, oh, well, I don't see, that sounds too good to be true that you could get me better in 5 visits. Because last time this happened, I needed 15 visits. And so they're,
I can see
their
that.
spidey senses go off. Okay, this guy's selling me snake oil. And, so there's, if I can build a rapport with somebody and there's trust, that goes a long way. The hard thing to do is to build trust within, 10 minutes of meeting somebody as a new client. And explaining to them, hey, or even just talking on the phone, hey, here's how I do things. Here's why I do things the way I do them, because I want you to get better faster and or with fewer visits. And then some people are like, oh, I had a prospective client that I called yesterday and I was explaining everything. Towards the end of my spiel, gave him my background. Here's why I started to accelerate. I think it's helpful for people to know that and understand where I'm coming from. And she was like, yeah, that sounds great. That's a no-brainer. That's kind of that was her response. This is an investment in my body. I want my back to be better. So I'm going to spend the money on it.
Well, yeah, there's some people
And I
that
came highly
need it.
recommended. Another client was like, yeah, you should go see him. He can definitely help
Yeah.
you with that. And that, when somebody is referred to me by somebody they trust, that person has done the work for me by,
Know,
by-
like, and trust.
yeah, exactly. So anyway,
That's what made it probably easy for you to join BNI. Being able to have that rapport quickly.
yeah,
Because you were kind of, honestly, like at the very beginning, you came to Jason's office first.
yeah.
And you were
It was
kind of
like
like,
the last,
what the hell is
yeah,
this?
it was like the last 2 or 3 meetings
Yeah.
at Jason's office.
Yep.
Yeah, I walked in there. Well, so the backstory, I guess, how I met John and he invited me, Dr. Dold.
A little bit. Yeah, he said a very small amount, I think it was, in the meeting, at least on how you guys knew each other.
Okay. So I was at Dudley's getting a couple beers with a buddy. And on the way out, saw a guy I know. And Dr. John's sitting at the table with him. So I go over and I'm talking to Dylan for a second, just saying what's up. And Dylan's like, oh, you should talk to John here. He's an entrepreneur. And this was the Friday before I opened my clinic. You should talk to Dr. John. And John's like, what do you do? I said, I'm a physical therapist. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I'm a chiropractor. How long have you owned your practice? I was like, well, I open in 3 days. And he was like, oh, you probably need some referrals, huh? I was like, actually, yeah, that's the one thing I need.
Yeah.
I got it. I got my equipment. I know what I'm doing. I need people to fill my schedule. And he's like, you should come check out this BNI group. So I won't say it was coincidental. My sister-in-law had mentioned to me sometime before that, maybe a month before that, when we FaceTime my brother-in-law and his wife. They're out in Denver, and she was like, you should join a BNI group, because she was getting ready to start her own business. And somebody mentioned that to her. So I had heard BNI before. I know Shelby's not she's not the type that would be like, hey, you should join this pyramid scheme,
Right.
Sleazy sales thing. So I was like, all right, if Shelby is saying it's a good thing, I trust her.
Right.
And then John mentioned, I was like, well, okay, John's sitting over here with Dylan. I know and trust Dylan. And John is, super sincere.
Right.
Like, you trust him right off the bat. You can just tell he's a good guy. I was like, I do need those referrals. Tell me a little bit. So he told me a little bit about it, and I was like, ugh. Like,
Yeah.
like an MLM type of thing. I fell for that once already. But I was like, all right, I don't, again, I think the Lord put me here at this place at this exact time, talk to John. And so I'm going to go, because I am desperate for some referrals at this point. So I go in, everybody was very authentic, cool. But everybody walked over, introduced themselves. I was ready for some of the networking types of events I've been to before, which basically the interaction summed up is it's all
Super fake.
this put on fake cheery stuff that disgusts me.
I do this. You should come do it.
Yeah, and basically the interactions are what can you give to me?
Yeah.
Basically how can
Preston says,
how can you
they
benefit
come with
me?
their bib.
Yeah.
Not their apron,
And
ready
so
to serve.
It's purely transactional.
Yeah.
It's they'll edify you and everything just to kind of butter you up. So then you should come use my service, buy my product, whatever. Send referrals to me. So I was kind of guarded, ready for that. It's like, oh man, these people are all actually pretty cool. They're all busting each other's chops. They're talking about things outside of business, meaning they actually know each other a little bit. So at first I was like, oh, it's just a bunch of buddies that started this thing. How long has this thing been going? And so, the chapter chartered in June or July, right? And I showed up at probably the middle of September.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, they had already been going for a little bit, because I came into it not but only 2 weeks. I've been there before and I already knew about it from Preston,
Yeah.
but I didn't know half the people in it.
Okay.
But I already knew of what was going on due to Jason. So I knew those groups and I had been to them before as more of like a guest speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, BNI really does actually work. Like, I've been at it. I'm a veteran. Everybody here's new to BNI. So, like I'm a testimonial of like this actually does produce quite well.
The BNI poster boy.
Pretty much. Yeah. And then the spot opened up and the opportunities opened up to where it made a perfect fit for me to come over into that group to not only help promote it and get growing, but I think it was only like 2 weeks after they chartered. So I was only there maybe a month before you showed up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Not even that long.
Yeah.
But out of the group, I think I'm the only one that's the veteran that's been in a group before for a long-standing period of time.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a great group. Like, I've told other people about it, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Or I've been to one." And,
right.
And it's just a shout out Wheat State Elite, special thing going there, and just authenticity. Everybody understands. Yes, we are here for business. We are here to grow our businesses, but we can also invest in each other.
Yep.
In those relationships, and like just a genuine desire to see each other do well, which is
we
cool.
develop friendships though. Like,
yeah,
I don't look whenever I refer to you to someone in a transactional state of being able to possibly refer you. Yes, I do refer as personal trainer.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I consider you a friend. So that's
same.
BNI. I mean, you end up getting not only the business relationships out of it, which you don't click with everybody.
Sure.
But you build a lot of friendships. You build, whether it's transactional one way or another, some way, shape, or form. And yeah, it makes it easier to refer you if we're friends rather than, oh yeah, it's my personal trainer. I go to him, once, twice a week. And, yeah, he's doing this. It's cool. Like, you should hit him up. No, I didn't speak so much highly of you if, a friend and have a different type of relationship. So,
that lukewarm, he provides a service. Go see him versus now.
Dr. John Dole, like, I haven't even done any work for him, but he speaks so highly of me. And I mean, I beat out 3 other roofing contractors that are well known just because of that relationship I have with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that client specifically was like, he talks so highly of you. And I had other roofers show up and they offered this and offered that and so on and so forth. And I called them and they weren't referrals. They were called. I was referred. So that referral goes 1,000 times further than just,
absolutely. People they don't want to spend a bunch of time, trying.
Yeah. Looking, reviews, that. Yeah.
Or even like, in a roofing case, I mean, you make the wrong decision. Now you're however many thousands of dollars in the hole.
Or dealing with it long term.
Then to wait for, now I got the next guy coming out who I finally found someone I can trust. Well, now you have to undo the previous work before you can actually do the work. You save people that huge headache and a lot of money. Can't save them a lot of money ultimately when it's just, I'm going to get the job done right the first time. And you can trust my work because somebody you trust.
Pass it along.
So that goes a long way. I mean, that's the reason why my dad's like, yeah, we got this, thing going with the gutters. I was like, oh, I wonder if Shield Roofing does gutter stuff. And yeah, Dad, you should call him. He's a good guy. You know, I've hung out with him a few hours a week now for 2 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, I got a pretty good grasp on how he is, and, you know, and he's passionate about roofing ethically, and, you know, like doing the best work you can, and not just like I run a roofing business that makes me money, but like roofing, I don't know, roofing done right. You know, if you wanted sort of a
Quality
tagline.
over the quantity.
Yeah.
Quality is what's left behind, and it takes you further. That's the motto of Shield. Only thing left behind is quality, because yes, we can roof the same way that everybody else is doing it. But if I have a relationship with you that is built on the trust, quality, and you're getting a product out there that you know is going to do good long term for you and insurance, but can navigate that entire process, just like with you, the understanding of what it is that you're investing in or producing for your own body, it works the same way. Your house is your investment.
Yeah.
If you're going to just throw some shingles on there and call it good and think that everything's going to be all right, well, maybe you're probably a flipper or an investor. I don't know. But this is your house. You're going to take care of it. You want to put a roof on that's going to last the longevity of what it's supposed to. But also, if you're going to plan on doing a bunch of remodeling inside, you know, a lot of people, that's where they focus first. Oh, it's not leaking right now. What if you just spent 50 grand inside and then magically here comes a storm and it just revealed that you actually do have some problems up there? Most people don't think that that's the first thing that needs to be looked at. Just like with you, I'm sure there's a step-by-step process. Before you go play football for K-State,
Yep.
you have to do this first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
So it works in the same line.
A detailed examination of what's most, you know, starting with the fundamentals. But I think you brought up a good point with running your business that way, doing a good job, providing quality that, and sticking to that can ultimately lose you business in the short term, right? You'll lose out on a bid because so-and-so is going to do it for half the price. Yeah. So-and-so is going to do it for a quarter of the price. But by sticking to that, I'm not trying to appeal to, that's a race to the bottom. If you just start trying to win every bid. And same thing for me. I can just set my prices lower and lower until everybody can come in. But then I can't provide the quality because I'm back to what physical therapy is in the worst case scenario, where I'm seeing 2 people at once or 3 people at once, or I'm running them through every 15 minutes. Bam, 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 bam. $20 a pop. Everyone can afford it. Maybe my schedule would be jam-packed, but is anyone getting a quality service at that point in time? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So your question about who's the ideal client, and you know, somebody who can delay gratification was part of my answer, but the understanding of the investment, that's part of it, and that's kind of the same thing. I think that thread is consistent for you with your training, where you came in early on and you were like, here's what I want to get, and I'm just going to put in the work. You know, here's my plan for what I'll do at the Y a few days a week. Here are my goals. And then you're celebrating the victories along the way versus being like, hey, can we speed this thing up? Like, I'm going to Costa Rica in a few weeks. And I need to get leaned out. But you can apply that same personality trait to your business of, I know that I'm going to lose out on this bid and that bid, but when I get a bid and I do a magnificent job, that's going to get me
a lot further.
Yeah. And that's long term, that creates a reputation that you can stand on that will generate more referrals long term versus the storm chasers, you call them, that whether they truly are storm chasers coming out of town or it's a local company that's just willing to do things, you know, quick, fast, on the cheap. Eventually that reputation is going to wear thin to where everyone knows, don't call them because they don't do good work or they're going to stiff you.
Yep.
So, and it's kind of the same thing. That's where I'm at right now in the life cycle of my business, is sticking to my guns on here's how I'm going to provide services. Here's what that means from a pricing standpoint. And I've turned people away, or people have decided, no, I'd rather go this other route. But my sincere belief is that moving forward, I will, when I'm able to communicate the value to people and the people understand and they're ready to make the investment, both financially and the time investment, and they get those results, that is what results in other people saying, oh, how'd you make that transformation?
Yep.
Maybe you're in way better shape than you were last time I saw you a year ago. Or
we need to get Steven to make some shirts.
Didn't you always have a bad back? Or didn't your knees always bother you?
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I put 6 months in of consistent working with, Ashton coached me through the process. I saw him once every other week. I saw him once a month, and he gave me the template he gave me the roadmap on what I need to do at the gym. Yeah. And here I am 6 months later. I put in the time and the money, and I've got a brand new set of knees, brand new set of shoulders,
I got my ass.
T-shirts. Yeah. Got my ass by Ashton.
I'm serious. We need to get Steven to make him.
Yeah, it's hilarious, that little joke. I didn't have anything else. Like, I was daydreaming, I think, and then it came around to me, and I was supposed to have here's my ideal client this week. Yeah, new program I'm rolling out, Ask by Ashton.
I mean, it's catchy, and it's been working, because that's I don't know. I like funny approaches.
Maybe that's I've been trying to figure out, zero in on what my marketing approach is. What's my,
I think the funny,
who do I target with my Facebook ads and stuff? And I want my videos to have this aesthetic, talking to a videographer that I'm going to meet with next week. Here's kind of how I want things to look.
Right.
I want some of my videos to have more of this gym performance feel. I want some of my videos to demonstrate that when grandpa or grandma come in, I'm going to take good care of them. I'm not going to, have them lifting crazy heavy weights with loud metal or rap music on. We can be in the clinic where it's nice, and I turn on, the solid gold oldies and and talk about the weather and stuff. So
some of the music that I've heard played there is like radical. Well, I mean, there's in the gym, because you're partnered with Legacy Performance Club.
Yeah, so the
I don't want to forget them.
Overarching entity is Legacy Performance Club. And inside Legacy Performance Club, we've got She Strength, which is owned by Anna Woods. And Anna has her own gym in Hutch, but she's got some clientele in Wichita, especially in the softball world. She's really big in the high school softball. And so she rents some space there. So she's under the LPC umbrella, along with Elite Athletic Training, which is Vincent and Taisha Martin's youth training business for elementary, middle school, and high school athletes, doing speed and agility and weight room and introduction stuff, or starting with the introduction with the elementary kids, just basic movement proficiency, so that when they get to middle school and they get put in a weights class, they know what they're doing,
right?
And they can thrive rather than get hurt.
Go bench, go lift this. Yeah.
Go figure it out. And then there's a membership gym inside there with all the fitness equipment, great equipment from like the machine standpoint for kind of the general Gen Pop fitness, and even bodybuilding style stuff. And then Accelerate physical therapy and performance. And we've also got Wellness Culture. Two just joined us a month ago with Wellness Culture, and she does hormone optimization and the peptide therapies for men. So she's been a great addition to have there at the gym.
Kind of like a one-stop shop.
Yeah. So the long-term goal for Legacy Performance Club is to be the destination for health, wellness, and performance. Awesome. And so it's a very collaboratively minded group of people. Everybody loves I mean, we're a bunch of nerds when it comes to the health and performance side, and all aligned with our vision in the ethics of how we're going to run our businesses. And yeah, it's been amazing to work with that group, because everybody,
Awesome.
you can talk to everybody. Everybody's got their specialty. So,
Yep.
you know, Vincent and Taisha are really good in the track realm, working with sprinters, and understand sprinting very well. And they actually started a track club just recently, and I'm blanking on the name of it. I'll look it up here in a second. Anna she's also the strength coach for the Hutch JUCO football team. So she's a badass strength coach. Like, she knows her stuff. And so every time we talk, I'm embarrassed by how little I've read in that realm compared to how much she's read. So I'm like, oh man, just adding books to my list of authors I need to read, because
I do that every time I'm on TikTok. I'm like,
yeah,
I got another book I got to read. Like, man, all right, whatever.
And then we've got Daniel, who is a partner on the membership gym, Daniel Fowler, and he's in the physique world, so he understands like supplements. If people have supplement questions, he's the guy. I know I have an understanding of sprinting, of these different things generically. And compared to these other people in there, I'm kind of the jack of all trades. My specialty is just that performance rehab zone where I've got this sprinter who is almost back, but what do they need to do? And I can look at things, I see things on a slightly different scope. I've got this high school or college softball player that's having the shoulder hip thing, and this is how it manifests in the way she swings or throws or pitches. What do you think that could be? So it's kind of fun just to be able to collaborate with these different specialties. And long term, we're looking to add more specialties, whatever that may be, in that health and wellness and performance space, and a bigger facility at some point down the road where
I'd say probably a massage therapist.
Massage therapist would be good.
Yep. Acupuncture.
Yeah.
Chiropractor.
Yeah.
That's in the performance industry or geared towards that in the holistic approach rather than the medicinal approach. Dr. John Dold.
Yeah, it depends on the chiropractor.
Yeah, and their specialties.
Practice model. I mean, John and I have very different approaches with just a little bit of overlap in some of the spinal care. So we really could work well together, in terms of kind of he'll approach it from this angle, I'll approach it from this angle, and it has a synergistic effect. There are other chiropractors who I practice very similar to, or we practice very similar to each other, and then it would just be competition within the building. So, I mean, I love those guys, but I don't want them in the same building as me, stealing my business.
Right.
Competing with them, and it could create some confusion amongst clients of who do I need to go to. Whereas when we have distinct treatment models and a distinct set of services, which is the situation John and I are in. Like, I talked to him early on, I was like, out of what I offer, what should I not present here that's, going to be kind of encroaching on your niche? And he was like, honestly, we don't really overlap very much at all. We can both do joint adjustments and manipulations, but other than that, his model is different, where he's not doing the long exercise sessions and things like that. So yeah, it works well.
Yeah.
But he's also got a great space, so I don't see him needing.
Yeah, he does got a great space.
Yeah. So yeah, down the road, people that want to join in, hit us up.
Massage
Performance
therapy
Club. Yeah, massage
I think
therapy
that's
would
probably
be
going to be the next team that our group needs to target.
Yeah, for the
massage
BNI group.
Yep.
Yeah, and John and I are working on trying to build the health and wellness power team within the BNI group.
Yeah, it's needed because there's only a few of you guys.
Yeah,
the trades are quite prominent. So
trades and real estate and financial services. So yeah. So I guess one of the concepts we didn't cover. Where are we on time?
We'll cover it next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Industrial athletes. That's the cliffhanger, which is the trades stuff.
I do want to bring that up because I mean, like trades talk. So,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
you know,
we missed that.
Well, I mean, this is it's an introduction to you.
That's
like
true.
I want people to know Ashton
True.
the way that I know Ashton.
Yeah,
I'd like for them to know it as well. So bringing it more of a larger scale. That's the point of this. This is not a Devin Phillips at Shield Roofing promotion.
right.
Even though I'm branded, this is a promotion for my other chair who in that business can relate to the trades, work with the trades, collaborate with the trades. How do I get you exposed more? So
the cliffhanger, to give it just a little teaser, would be discussion of programs or a program for the trades.
You remember that
for
name?
The industrial athletes. What did we call that? Blue collar boot camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So blue collar boot camp would be a program to help guys who are in the trades, who are working their asses off during the day, have an additive exercise program that makes them more capable, more ready, better at their job versus crushing them on top of whatever the day may throw at them already. So, example, somebody comes in and does some heavy squat workout at 6 a.m., then they get to work and find out, they're running the jackhammer all day. That's not going to go very well. They're going to get them in trouble with their foreman or their manager because their legs are so thrashed they can't even can't lift whatever they're supposed to lift. They can't get up on. They can't climb the ladder because their legs are shot.
See,
so
and that's
there's
a
a way
was
to balance
concern I brought up to you. I was like,
yeah,
I'm going to be climbing this ladder. Like,
it's a legitimate concern.
I don't want to be sitting there like shaking trying to go up the ladder.
Yeah.
Or on the roof, like my legs shaking for whatever reason, like that.
Got a great leg workout and then fell off the roof, and now you're paralyzed and your legs don't work at all. Not the result we're going.
That's one way to lose weight. Never know. So, that well, I look forward to having you back on.
Thanks.
And
awesome.
we'll bring it up next time.
Sweet.
Awesome.